Last year, 1 out of 5 Salvadorians received remittances. This money was sent by their relatives, international migrant workers, to help them cover basic needs such as food, education, and healthcare. Remittances have a crucial development impact, and they can be leveraged to promote financial inclusion, and this is the topic of my research. Statistics show that 51% of the population in El Salvador don't have access to formal financial services, and remittance recipient families are among the excluded groups and usually receive the money in cash by visiting, for example, a Western Union office. More specifically, 75% of the total remittances that come or that flows into the country are transferred this way in cash, totaling $4 billion. There is a general assumption that remittances transferred through bank deposits paves the way for the recipients to get access to other formal financial services such as savings, credit, and insurance. However, there is no empirical evidence that supports this, and I challenge this assumption in my research. My research question is, does receiving remittance through a bank deposit foster financial inclusion? The indicators of measurement are ownership of savings account, usage of savings account, and ownership of formal credit. And to answer this question, I use the first national survey of access to financial services, and I use linear probability models. I will not go into details, but in the data I found that the penetration of financial services is very low in both study groups. Many people, around 80%, still keep their savings at home. Further, there is a lack of financial literacy. Less than half of the population in each group knows that there exists a governmental agency that protects the rights of users of financial services. The regression results show that households receiving remittances through bank deposits are 12% more likely to own a savings account and 70% more likely to actually use that account to save. The results are statistically significant. For credit, receiving remittances through this channel, bank deposits, are associated with a 1% lower probability to have a loan. In this case, the results are minimal and not statistically significant. And one interpretation could be that remittances overall leave liquidity constraints and to some extent substitute the need to borrow. So my conclusion is yes, receiving remittances through a bank deposit paves the way for financial inclusion, at least for savings, but overall the effect is small. My recommendations first, promote the transfer of remittances through banks. And the study suggests that the decision on the remittance channel depends more on the migrant rather than on the family member in the home country. So to promote, to encourage the electronic transfer of money, one should look at the financial barriers that Salvadorians face in other countries. My research touches briefly on this, but it is out of the scope. I focus on the other side of the coin, on the recipients. And in this regard, my results show that there is a great business opportunity for banks to leverage these inflows, and to do so, they will need to develop financial services that meet the characteristics and needs of remittance recipients. This cohort typically is low income and lacks banks' traditional requirements, and there is a business opportunity, but there are some barriers that could be restricting banks to see a viable market here, and in this regard, the government plays a crucial role to address market failures. The barriers could be that the population lacks of financial literacy, or they don't trust that much on banks. And what the government could do is to promote or launch a financial literacy campaign, inform in the financial market that there is this big business opportunity. And I believe that there is a win-to-win relationship here. On one side, the remittance families could benefit by having access to regulated financial services that help them to build assets, and banks could benefit, could gain profits by having these inflows, which they could lend out to investment, and in that way stimulate or create multiplier effects in the economy, which I'm sure that the government is also very interested in. Thank you for listening, and also questions.
Could you give any information on the people sending the remittances? Was it possible there were barriers on their end to getting bank accounts? Because I imagine the actual savings are really quite substantial in the total amount they would if they did bank remittances.
Yes, one of the limitations of my research is that in the data I didn't find, well, I didn't have information on the migrant side. Yeah, but just doing literature review, I found that sometimes there are barriers there. They have their own particularities, also like financial inclusion, like financial literacy, also things to do with the language barriers, and sometimes they lack of IDs, for example, too.
As you know, the U.S. immigration policy has become really unsuitable recently, and I wonder if that's had a discernible effect on the ability of migrants to remit. Is there any evidence that the flows have been disrupted by foreign sector stated?
The data is from 2016, and I didn't see this, but sure, like the tax that they plan to implement on remittances.
I'm not aware of specific changes in the regulations for eligibility, but I know that migrants, especially undocumented, are much more likely to engage in these actions.
For the two indicators that you spoke about, ownership of the account and ownership of the formal credit, did you use the filter of time and gender to see, is there a difference there? Do people own formal credits with increase in time of their owning the savings account, and also if there was specific?
Yeah, there were two limitations. The research one was the one that I didn't have information on the migrant, and the other is that this is a cross-sectional analysis. This is just 1 year. It will be interesting to see how the remittances changes during time. And yes, another question.
Those are banks that have windows on the two sides of the border, right?
Sorry?
Those are banks that have windows on the two sides of the border, right? So is the difficulty of access on the US side, or is the difficulty of access on the side of El Salvador?
In both sides, or yeah, like I don't know if I understand the question here, like here in the United States, especially, where people have some troubles to access these services, and also in El Salvador.
But you can open an account on the Salvador side, right?
Yes. And but it's basically the same problem. There's like a low penetration of financial services. So also one way to address this challenge or these issues, like promote that the migrants also send open bank accounts in the home country. Yes.
I'm from the Philippines, where foreign exchange remittances from foreign sex workers plays a big role in foreign exchange inflows in the country. I'm just wondering if you consider non-bank financial institutions as a way for non-bank financial institutions and DFIs as a way to also capacitate the migrants to send money back to El Salvador. Because for the Philippines, a lot of the banking penetration is also low, but there are a lot of non-bank financial institutions like Western Union where they are able to make transfers without having.
Yeah, what I'm doing is comparing these two study groups. One is people who use cash, like receive the money cash through Western Union. But the idea is to migrate those flows into the financial system.
Yeah, I'm just curious because if the positive impact is basically financial inclusion, I guess, like if there's no policy recommendation as to how to increase the ability of the bank accounts and maybe do something in the PFI area.
Yes, one recommendation. I mean, I think it's challenging because also like it involves two sides of things, and in order to really promote the financial inclusion of employees, we're able to look and to other countries and here and try to address the challenges.
Time for just one quick question?
Yeah. So I thought your interpretation of this null result on formal credit was very interesting, that they're using, that they have the remittances as a form of liquidity. I was wondering if your data would allow you to see, to kind of test that hypothesis. If someone gets a shock, do they end up receiving more remittances to smooth their consumption and deal with that shock? Or if there's some shock in the place that people are sending the remittances, do they end up turning to formal credit because they can no longer rely on remittances?
Yes, in terms of shock, there is in the survey, there's one question that asks people to whether they consider that kind of a risk if they lose a job and they get sick. I tried to come up for that variable, but I didn't see any change. And also in terms of shock, I'm controlling whether they have like insurance, and I don't exactly remember the result, but that could account to some extent for the shocks that people